Welcome, everybody, to We Geek Podcast. Today is April 27th, and this is our big Avengers Infinity War spoiler cast, basically. We're going to talk about the movie and kind of give you our thoughts and feelings about it. And, you know, I think we both saw it in the last few days, and we're going to kind of just digest it, break it apart, put it back together, and then, you know, talk about where do we go from here, basically. So just tell me, what was your first impressions? What did you think of it?
Those mad bastards did it.
Yeah.
Like, I sat there, you know, when that movie ended, I sat there through the entire credits. I could not move. I just kept saying that to myself over and over again. I can't believe those mad bastards did it. I can't believe they did. I can't believe they did it. Like, that was all. I had nothing else. In that moment, I could not process anything else.
Yeah, and I think I sent you a text with kind of a similar thing, like,
more or less.
I can't believe they had the balls to do that. And I loved the somber tone of, and they forecasted this they did it at the beginning when they showed the Infinity War. It wasn't this big, at least, right? Or am I remembering that wrong? Wasn't it very quiet at the beginning too, where they showed the Avengers Infinity War, or was the music playing really loud?
No, they had the music.
Maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
Yeah.
But at the end, it was very quiet, and then it just disappears.
I would have absolutely killed for there not to have been a post-credit scene. I know there had to be, and what they set up, I know they needed it. Like, I'm not mad, but I'm just saying, had that actually been the end of the movie, I would have. Oh man, I would have sent them a check for whatever they wanted. Mm-hmm. Instead of like, I went and saw your movie, I would have been like, here, you've earned it. What do you, I've got like $12. Is that good? Like, will that work?
Oh yeah.
Because that would have been amazing, because that would have killed an audience. That would have absolutely, in all the right ways. And I loved the best thing that I got to do on Thursday night was in our big premium theater. I went in about 10 minutes before the end. I had time. I went in and just stood back and off to the side and waited. And the amount of people, when that movie ended, there are 350 some people in there. The amount of that audience you could audibly hear crying.
Oh wow.
Was amazing. I'll bet a third of that audience was crying loudly enough to be heard. Not sobbing, not wailing, but you could hear the sniffling. You could hear people trying to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it was incredible. And what was really great, and I've never heard this for any other Marvel movie. Some people were still, and I'm trying not to laugh because it's really funny, they still wanted to be like, this was an amazing movie, and like a handful of people were like trying to applaud, and then it just kind of died off. Like, it didn't stop. It wasn't like they applauded and then they were done. They were like, we really want to, but it just died. And it was just, you know, like everybody else. But it was just, oh man. And I couldn't sit there watching. I couldn't believe when they started it. Like, that set the tone. When they were like, oh yeah, what are we going to do in the first 5 minutes of the movie? We're going to kill Loki.
Yeah, it opens up with the, you know, straight from Ragnarok, essentially.
Yeah.
And it just completely takes the air out of you with what they do with Loki. But yeah, they open it up, and I believe I remember them saying at some point in time in the movie that they killed half the Asgardians during that whole thing.
Yeah, I think it was Was it Thor or was it Ebony Maw who was like half of you?
Right.
Because I know Maw does his whole proclamation a bit like,
Yeah.
rejoice, you have been killed by the mighty Thanos.
Right.
In death,
Right.
your sacrifice is a great service. Blah blah blah, all that stuff.
Yeah. But it opens up with that. I think it was smart to open up with Hulk fighting him and him saying, "We have a Hulk," and just showing like this is the strongest Avenger they have.
I love
And
that
he was beaten to a pulp.
and I love that it was Loki that said it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That
Absolutely.
was a beautiful full circle of like everybody's
Yes.
kind of saying, yes, but we have the Hulk.
And then Thanos essentially did to Hulk what Hulk did to Loki, and I loved how he was like, just let him have his fun.
Yeah, and
you knew the Hulk was screwed at that point.
And watching Banner freak out when they found him.
Right,
like,
and I mean, I think that's why the Hulk was so afraid to come out.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire film was because he was like, I'm not going against that again.
Yeah, I'm not, and what a weird feeling for Hulk to get beat.
Yeah.
Like that by somebody just completely random. Like it wasn't like the fight with Thor where like Thor was, like Thor had the hammer and the lightning and all that fun stuff. What Thanos with his bare hands kicked Hulk's ass.
Yeah.
That had to terrify the Hulk.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I love that it opened up with that. It was just such a contrast, such a difference to the Thor Ragnarok, where they're all having a great time and they just won and they're getting away. Not a great time necessarily, but it was a different mood.
Yeah.
And to go into that and to me, one of the standouts from this movie is Thor, and I'm glad that we spent so much time with him in this film because this was just a part of his redemption story. A lot of the stories in this movie was about redemption. Some of the characters, especially him, and all the things that he's lost. It became a joke in the film. Like they've literally told jokes about how what have you lost? He just talks about all the terrible things that have happened to him, including his mom, and and all this terrible shit. And he has become, and I think it has a lot to do with Ragnarok, one of my favorite characters. I love what they've done with him.
When they gave that to Taika, they really and they learned. I really do think they learned from whatever happened with Edgar Wright. Because I don't think without that Thor, I think without that Thor Ragnarok is very much more like Thor: The Dark World.
Yes.
And that's to everybody's detriment. And I think they learned from Edgar Wright, like from that whole fiasco. And I think they learned from James Gunn, from just saying, look, here's this thing, just go do something with it, and seeing what can happen. And so that led us to Thor Ragnarok, which led to Thor being like, oh my god, he's not just, it's him again. It's like, oh man, it's Thor, look at that.
I laughed every time he called him Rabbit.
Oh, it was great.
I smiled ear
so
to ear every time.
And I love that Rocket just kind of went with it, because he was like, whatever.
Yeah, he just went with it. Rabbit, get me this. Yeah. All right.
I'm going to have that arm. Like,
yeah.
I know that's jumping ahead.
Oh, yeah, that was so good.
Because that's him. Like, it's a prosthetic, so of course he wants it. Like,
yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it opens up with them, and they do their thing, and everyone gets basically destroyed, and Thor, we see the scene for the trailer just kind of go up against their ship, and his eye opens up and goes in, and the interaction with Thor and the Guardians really I want to have Thor in the next Guardians movie.
Yeah,
the way Drax was just like, that's a man, and Peter is just completely jealous of Thor, and
that's not a dude. You're a dude. That's a man. And just because Drax is just so dry, it's just no, this is just a fact. This is how this is. Like,
oh yeah. Oh, I saw some interesting articles. Now, I don't know much about this, so I don't really want to speak too much about it. But I saw a few different articles that said Guardians in a very, I don't think they meant to do it, but in a very odd and charming way. Apparently, these people who wrote these articles said they really get someone on a spectrum. Yeah. With someone like Drax and stuff like that.
I have seen many articles where there was a guy who told a story. He took, I think it was his son, who was on the spectrum, and
Yes.
to see the first Guardians, and
Mm-hmm.
he loved Drax because Drax doesn't get metaphors.
Right.
And that was very much a part of that. And so that, yeah, I have definitely seen those
Yeah.
articles, and I don't believe that was the intent.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I do love that they haven't really trumpeted it. Like, they haven't gone out of their way to make it a point. It's just who he is. And
It is who he is, and for the most part, Drax means good with all of these with what he does, and I love that. I love the innocence of him. He's this character who is this crazy beast of a person that could slit your throat, and he's just this crazy fighter, but he's just super innocent with a
yes,
lot of the stuff he does. I loved how he was talking about being invisible.
but I'm moving so slow that it's
Moving
imperceptible.
so slow. That was straight James Gunn.
And then for Mantis to come along and just obliterate that. Oh, hi, Drax. Just
Right.
so simply, just absolutely destroy all of that.
Yeah.
That's simply. That's what you said. It is just a pure innocence about it. It really is.
And I love that. And then same way with Thor. Like, I like that these characters. There's certain points in this film where they take each other seriously while we're laughing at it.
Yeah.
Where Thor legitimately is like, Rocket, you seem like you're the captain. He's like, you seem like you know everything that's going on, or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Just to boost Rocket's ego, and we're all laughing because we know that that's not really the case. But it happens later on in the film, and I know I'm jumping ahead. But when Steve Rogers legitimately goes, "Oh, I am Steve Rogers." I love those kind of moments.
Yeah.
Where they're fun for the audience, and I love that they're kind of taking each other seriously, but it comes off funny.
I love that.
I love that stuff. Yeah. So Thor's entire interaction with the crew, he fits to a T with them and plays off them so well. And I think it has, like you mentioned, a lot to do with that humor with James Gunn and
Yeah.
it's so good.
I'd love to see them going forward if they hadn't all died. So.
Right. Well, I mean, we know there's going to be a Guardians 3.
Well, but here's the interesting thing. And this is something, and here's, I think that if we didn't know there was going to be a Guardians 3 or a Spider-Man 2, I think the ending would have packed more punch.
Well, yes.
Not that it doesn't, but I think and now most people don't know this stuff. So
this is what I would be calling being a smark of the movie industry.
Yes, agreed. I think that's the best way to put it. I do.
And I think there's a way I think a lot of people don't separate that, and they're like, well, I didn't like it because I saw that coming. And it's like, look, you have to view it within the realm of the story that's being told.
Right.
And, and try and keep it in there. And then have your wild expectations outside of that or whatever.
Yeah.
But for the story they were telling, put yourself in the minds of a 10-year-old seeing this movie. Their world just got destroyed.
Exactly. That's the way you have to look at something like this.
Yeah.
Like that's I had that discussion with a couple of people at work, like once, and especially once they had seen it, because some of them were there to see it last night. And,
right.
And that was kind of the discussion of like, yeah, we know these things, but again, like a kid going in there and seeing this who's like, I really loved Spider-Man, that was awesome, and then he goes and sees Infinity War, and he's just he's just gonna be bawling,
Yeah.
It's just, oh my god.
What's the phrase of disbelief? You gotta
suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief. You gotta just get in kayfabe a little bit.
Yeah, you have to
and enjoy it. Like we all know there's gonna be a million Star Wars and whatnot, and but enjoy what you're seeing, and then go from there. So I think that's important. I think that there's no other way they could have done this movie better, in my opinion, by doing what they did. I think it was definitely ballsy of them to do, and I wouldn't have enjoyed it any other way.
No, I don't think any kind of happily ever after would have worked here.
Right. I think it's very cynical to be like, well, obviously that was gonna, they're gonna be back. Like, I think that's very cynical, and like, what else could they have done to make that better or have more impact? I think. But yeah, to not jump too far ahead, I loved all that stuff. I loved that he picked Rocket because he was like, you seem like I don't know the exact wordage, but he was like, you seem like you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And Groot went along with them, so they went off on their adventure, and the Guardians went to nowhere. I loved. Did Tony ever interact with Cap in this movie? I don't think they did.
No, they did not.
He went to make the phone call, and that was it.
Yeah, but he didn't, and then he went to
didn't.
space, and that was the last anybody on Earth saw of Tony Stark, at least until he gets back.
Right. I loved the scene where this was straight from the comics. This is where instead of it being Hulk, it was Silver Surfer who came and said Thanos is coming. That's how it all started in the comic. I loved that. And what's his face that got killed for the guy who does the Bifrost?
Heimdall. Yeah.
Heimdall. That was hard. I hate seeing all these freaking Asgardians get killed off. It's they've had a bad year or two.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
they lost their planet, and then half of them, the ones that were left, died. See, that's why I think that was an unnecessary culling, because a lot of them were killed on Asgard.
Yeah, to see Loki, like Thor has lost the most, I think, out of all of them.
I agree. Yes, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, like Thor is just a man. Like, and you know what? I've said this somewhere else, but like he is crawling his way to the top of my list of favorite MCU characters. And if you would have told me that a few years ago, I would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah.
But what they've done with him in these last two films has just totally skyrocketed his character for me. He's grown so much from the guy that we saw in the first movie. And I just think that's so awesome. So the stuff with Tony and them, what I really liked, and I don't know the way to word this, but I thought the movie, this is where it went from like a regular Marvel movie to kind of an event movie, because I thought, okay, he's going to call Tony. This is going to be 10 minutes of them talking or doing whatever or planning and go. And he doesn't make the phone call, and he looks outside and the whole world's going to hell.
Right. And
from that moment on, it was just go.
Yeah. Yeah, there was really no downtime.
There was no downtime. There was no time to make a plan. There was no time to talk about what they were going to do. They were basically just like, and I loved how the Hulk was just like totally oblivious to them broken up or anything. And he's like, you're like the Beatles and stuff like that. That was awesome.
Yeah, because you forget, like, Banner hasn't been around. Like, he knows nothing about everything that's happened the last 2 years. He has no clue.
Yep, and same with Thor. And the jokes with like the mighty Avengers. Oh, you mean like Kevin Bacon?
Cut. And I love that. He might be on the team. I haven't been back in a while. I don't know.
Right. Like he took it so straight.
That's fantastic.
And now Kevin Bacon is tied to everything in the Marvel universe.
Yes, he is.
Without being in a movie. But yeah. So I thought that was the scene and what they did. What I thought so well in this film that they did not do in Ultron, and that they did not do in Avengers, for me at least, was to show the sheer chaos and terror of what it would be like to be on the street when one of these things happened. Because to me, Avengers and Ultron both were very action packed and very exciting and very awesome to see them work off each other and save people. But this felt truly terrifying when they walk out and a car crashes and almost kills Tony, and all people are just going bananas and falling over each other, and this wind is sucking them, and I loved that scene.
Right, it wasn't just people fleeing in terror. It
felt like 9/11, looking at that.
There was, and I'm sure there was a lot of thought about that too.
Yeah. And I think they did it respectively. There wasn't any like clear, but it was like, this is chaos, and that's, I guess, what would happen if something like that actually happened.
Yeah.
And then to not fast forward too much, but same with the end credit scene. It's just, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
And so I loved that stuff, and them just kind of real fast, the scene with Pepper Potts and Tony, because when we first go to them, they're talking about retirement and they're talking about having a baby, and that whole thing that Tony talks about with having a kid. I'm convinced she's pregnant.
Maybe.
I think that's what she was trying to tell him before everything cut off.
Well, no, because remember, like, he talked about it and she just went, no.
Yeah, I know. I think she was messing with him. She didn't want to tell him.
I don't know, because it didn't seem like a messing with him scene. Like, she didn't have that kind of, because we've seen that before, where she just kind of messes with his head for fun for a second.
But they didn't have they did not have a second to kind of end that conversation.
Yeah, but
they were in the middle of it when he got pulled away by a wizard.
I think, yeah.
So, like, that's what I mean. And again, it's just a speculation of me. It's probably nothing, but I don't think that's I don't think that's a throwaway thing. I mean, for all we know, Steve Rogers could die in 4, and they named their baby after Steve. Who knows? That's just my mind went that direction when I saw.
I think what they were going with there was just the idea of, oh, these guys are done being Avengers, in a sense.
Once a baby, once a family. He wants Hawkeye's life.
Right, that's what I took from it. It's exactly it. He wants what Hawkeye has, which is just a family. And especially because of everything Tony in particular has gone through. Like, right. He's the the things that happened in Avengers and what happened in Civil War and in Ultron when she messed with his head. Like, that's Tony wants out. And he is looking forward to retirement and all this, and that's the complete opposite of what happened. And I think, and here's the thing that looking back really gets me: Tony wants a kid. He wants to be a dad. He wants to be a father. Who has he been a father figure to?
Yes.
And he can't save him.
Oh, that scene.
Oh my god. Oh, Tom. Everybody I've talked to has just been like, oh my god, Tom Holland just broke my heart. Yeah. And I agree, because holy crap, did he saw
I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. That was just heartbreaking to hear.
Sir, I don't want to leave, sir. I don't want to go, sir. Sir, I don't want to go. Like, oh my, like it just destroys you to watch it. Yeah. And just him looking up, and the last thing he says to Tony is, "I'm sorry," like it was his fault. Yeah. And there's a bit of a flip on what happens to Peter in the Ultimate Universe. Right. Because when he goes out in the Ultimate Universe, he's beaten the Green Goblin, and he's looking up at Aunt May, and he's like, "I couldn't save Uncle Ben, but I saved you," and he goes out proud like that. On the flip side of this, he's a scared kid. He's not a superhero. He's not an Avenger, even though Tony kind of knights him on the ship, and I thought that was cute. But he's a kid. He's a teenager looking up, and he's like, I failed. I couldn't do this. And again, he's looking at Tony, who is a mentor to him, who is a hero to him in every different way. And he's looking up and he's thinking, I failed. He's really thinking he blew it, because remember, he's holding that Infinity Gauntlet right at the end, right before they almost pull it off of him. He's got it in his hands. He's just got it. If he just pulled a little bit harder. And if freaking
Star-Lord wasn't, man, they make him every film he gets just dumber and dumber.
Well, but I mean, that is.
I get it. I get why they did. I get why it was written like that, and it totally makes sense. And it would have been a bad movie if they would have just won it there, and that would have been it. Yeah. But man, it just made me go, no, don't do it, Peter. What are you doing? Because you're absolutely right. They had it. They had it off. Yeah. There's just so many scenes in the film where they get so close and it slips away.
Yeah, and that's the point. Like that's the whole thing of like they just can't do it. Yeah. But where were we actually in the
okay. So we were talking about Thor and them going off. Then we were talking about the New York scene, and right. We were talking about Pepper Potts, and then when the battle starts, and I love I love Stephen Strange, Doctor Strange, is kind of I hope he they do with him what they did with the Hulk. I think he can have his own movie, but he needs to be around other characters.
He plays best in a group. I think it is just like the Hulk. It is
just like in the Thor movie. It was hysterical with Thor and Loki, and in this movie with Tony and them playing off of each other, and the cape and everything, and with Peter, and it was so good. But hopefully later down the road, which should probably never happen, but we should totally get a Doctor Strange Doctor Doom team up book, which would be awesome, where they go to hell and save Doctor Doom's mom.
Yeah.
Because Doctor Doom wants to be Doctor Strange. He wants to be the, what is it called? What's his title?
Sorcerer Supreme.
Sorcerer Supreme, yes. So he wants to be that. I don't know. That's just long shot. But anyway, I loved that. I loved that scene. The beginning where they were fighting with Juan and all of them. It was just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so they have the whole battle there. Now I thought they did a really good job with Thanos' cronies.
They were fine. Like I didn't need all the backstory on the Glaive and Proxima Midnight, and like I didn't. They were the chief generals under Thanos, and you got that impression off the bat, and that was all you needed. That was all I needed anyway.
And that's what I mean. Like I think they spent just the good amount of the same. Blah. I can't speak. It's too late. I've been talking too long.
The right amount of time with each one.
Yes, I think they've been spending the right amount of time with each one, because in any other studio's films, that's what the bad guy would have looked like, and that's the amount of character depth they would have had.
Steppenwolf,
if that makes sense,
from Justice League.
Yeah, exactly. Steppenwolf just looks like their cousin.
Yeah,
and I know more about these characters than Steppenwolf.
Yeah,
and he had his own movie, so like, so I liked all that. They got sent all different directions, and then when they get a hold of Doctor Strange, and that was frightening. Like that guy freaked me out.
Yeah. That's and I'm glad that they gave him that little bit extra, because
yes.
he was definitely like, oh my god, it's creepy. So
yes, absolutely. And then and so he's like, I'm being abducted, and so like I love that that's how he got his suit.
I'm being
Spider-Man was
up.
fighting the whole time to, he knew, he's like, oh, this makes sense. He starts losing oxygen. And,
yeah, sure. He's yeah, it makes sense.
Oh yeah, and I liked how immediately Tony was like, what did he say? Like he got up to him and he sidelined him or whatever.
Yeah, he gave him the suit and he's like, all right, cool. Friday, send him home.
Yep, exactly.
Deployed the chute. He's like, bah.
Yep. I liked that he stayed, and it was just, I like how he was like, this is a one-way trip. Like, why did you, so all that was cool. We didn't really talk about Thanos so much, and this to me is the best Marvel villain, hands down.
Yeah.
Might be my favorite comic book villain I've seen in a movie. I loved that his story makes sense in a way.
Yeah.
He's a crazy person who wants to kill, half the universe, because he has this belief, and he has vindication about his belief.
Yeah, the bizarre. This is what's bizarre about Thanos. Putting his method and his solution aside, when he looks at the problem, he's not wrong.
He believes he's the hero of the story.
And that's what makes a great villain. If
Yes.
the villain does not believe they are the hero of the story, then you have failed that character.
Yeah. He's not twisting his mustache. He goes through a journey in this. This is his film, I think. Like,
Yeah.
This is, as much as this is, I think this is like his and Thor's, film, and everyone's just kind of around them. But yes, this is Thanos' film through and through, and that makes so much sense now, because I heard the directors and writers talk about that, how this is Thanos' film, because he goes through a journey. There's moments where I'm like, towards the beginning, you're like, well, I don't believe him. He doesn't have any emotion. How could he? But man, there's some scenes in the film where you're like, oh shit, he actually does love. He probably has a million feelings that, more than what you think. And so, so the roller coaster he goes through in this, the journey that he goes on through this movie, all of that stuff they were talking about before the film came out makes so much sense now.
It does. It absolutely does.
Yeah, where this was his crusade, and he loved Gamora. He truly, deeply did actually care about her.
That
And
I so loved, and we'll get to the cameo in a second,
Right.
because that blew my hair back. But
yeah.
I really loved when they were like, "You must sacrifice what you love," and Gamora just bursts out laughing.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't understand.
Yeah.
She really doesn't, because she never believed it. She didn't
Right.
think, she thought he was just cruel and awful and
Right.
horrible. And then, he turns around and he's crying, and she's like, "Tears, really? Are you serious
Yeah.
right now?" It's like, they're not for him. And it just
Right.
it hits her like a moon. Like, just,
Yeah, and
it,
they've been setting this up by calling her his favorite daughter,
yeah.
and
And they were like, "No, he's serious. Like, he actually, like, that was his, like, he really does love." And you're like, "Wow, that's okay."
yeah.
Like, that hits, because you're like, that to me was the scene where I was like, he's not, like you said, he's not twirling his mustache. Like,
Yeah.
that's where you find, like, oh no, maybe he's not just a psychopath. Like,
Right.
you really start to have doubts. You really start to think.
He's sacrificing everything to get this goal of, he believes, saving the universe, because, and I think his planet, Titan, it vindicates everything he's talking about, how there were too many, there were empty bellies, there were wars they fought over, there was famine, and if they would have just done what he said, and genocide, essentially killing off half the planet, it would have saved them. And he talks about going to planets to doing this, and he goes, you go back to your home planet, and guess what? Their bellies are full. There's jobs. There's where the prospering. Man, I just can't fucking talk tonight. And they're doing well, and he's not wrong.
It's a paradise. When he
Yeah,
because he said
that's
that,
right. That's what he says.
And he says it just straight up. He's like nobody's hungry. It's a paradise. And
yeah, and they've moved on from what happened.
Yeah, and that's and I tell you, it makes you think. Like,
it makes you think, and I loved it. Not to jump too far ahead, but I love at the end where I think he was telling Cap or Tony, he was like, "Don't worry, half of them will still be there when you get back." Oh, I guess it was Tony.
It was Tony. Half of humanity will survive.
Yeah. So he's reassuring him, like, don't worry, I'm saving you. Like, it's just it's so well done.
He is a magnificently written villain. He is fantastically good, and he solves, because that's been the big complaint for the Marvel films, and this is what's hilarious. The two biggest complaints are that they have a villain problem, and that there is an unwillingness to have, like, actual sacrifice on behalf of the heroes.
Right.
Civil
Absolutely.
War splits them up and everything, but does anything really become of that? Not entirely.
Right.
Who does Tony Stark lose? Not really anybody. What about Rhodey? Well, Rhodey didn't die.
Right.
And that's been kind of a thing. Thor Ragnarok puts a bit of puts a little bit of touch on that because of Odin, but I mean, Odin was old. Let's be honest.
To be fair, even in the Dark World, he lost his mother. They've really been setting him up to lose.
That's true. That's very true. I forgot about that. That is true.
Yeah. So out of all of them, he's because
he lost his mom, and then he lost his dad, his sister, crazy psychotic evil sister, but still sister, and Planet in the same movie.
Right, exactly, absolutely, and I think that and to be fair, at least in Civil War, we see Tony's, like, we see his loss. He sees his loss
right
on film, and I think that was probably a way for them to kind of retroactively put something in there for him.
And then so I mean, they solved.
They're listening.
Yeah, they definitely solved both of those problems with this movie.
Yeah. And I have a feeling in 4 we're going to feel some real loss with some of these characters, because I think,
the expectation is that they're going to fix this and some of them are going to come back, but the trick is which ones and at what cost.
Right. And it's no, and to get like outside of it, it's no spoiler that a lot of their contracts are up.
Right.
But we don't know if they're going to
That doesn't mean they
kill them.
die.
Exactly. It doesn't mean they die. It might mean some of them die, some of them are alive but retire. And that means that they could show up in a film
Sure.
3-4 years down the road. Where if you're dead, it's a little less unlikely. Even though it is a comic book universe, it's still a lot more unlikely that they'll come back for their character. Yeah. So I don't know. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. With Thanos, it's, man, and the CGI, the performance, I think this is probably the best CGI I've seen in a character, because
so
you
smooth.
Get so lost that he's CGI. It feels like someone's been there on the screen the entire time.
It's so ridiculously smooth. They did a phenomenal job.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he looked like Thanos. A lot of people complained. It was obviously the lighting on that planet and the way the sun and everything else was just so bright. I love that he called him Grimace. I laughed. I was like, oh my god. You know, man. But yeah. So anyway, so we're talking about we're talking about Doctor Strange and all of them. I like that. Who was the guy that the doctor that was trying to take out Doctor Strange?
Ebony Maw.
Maw. I like how he went out of the airlock or the hole.
Man, but I'll tell you what, man. If I ever have to hear Peter Parker say, "Have you ever seen that really old movie, something that came out 25 years ago?" Again, I'm gonna start feeling less bad. Like.
I love it. I hope he keeps doing that. And I like how they were like, he keeps making pop culture references, and then when he meets Peter Quill, it's just a whole nother level.
What, you mean like Footloose? Yeah, exactly like Footloose. Is that still the greatest movie ever made? It never was. Like,
yeah, it was.
Oh, God, man, just ripped the man's heart out.
So offended. But yeah, that was great. You've seen Aliens, and then when man, my mind's just going blank today. When what's her face from Guardians goes after him to try and calm him down.
Yeah.
Mantis goes after him. He's like, please don't put eggs in me. I thought that was fantastic. But yeah, all of that stuff was great. And then we leave them for a while.
Yeah, we left that group for a good little while.
Yeah, I liked, and then we saw the Guardians going to nowhere, and this got me nervous because I thought, if they confront them right now, they're all dead. How are they going to get out of this? And I thought it was awesome to show the Reality Stone and how he can just bend reality to show and do what he wants in front of him.
Yeah.
And it was all just trickery, and I loved it. It set up the whole, if he gets a hold of me, kill me. Because I know something, and if he finds out, then the universe will end. And I like that Peter did pull the trigger, but it was Bubbles.
That was so funny. That was hilarious.
Scene when Drax falls into bits. That was the first part where I really was like, well, besides Loki and stuff, where I was like, oh shit, we just lost Drax.
Yeah.
And Mantis, and when she turns into springs or
like
whatever.
Ribbons, yeah. Yeah, but she blinks after that.
Oh, I guess I didn't see that.
Yeah, like after she falls and everything, like you still have like one of her eyes there, and it's still moving, and she blinks.
Yes, you're right. I guess I just thought I thought they were done.
Yeah, with Drax, they didn't do that. Drax just fell to pieces.
Right, he just fell to pieces, and you got to put yourself in like the character's shoes in that story to see that happen, to just lose two of your members, two of your team. It's like, this is make or break, and then it just seemed like the end of everything for them. And then of course he takes her, and I like how he's like, I like you, kid.
That was great because he would have pulled the trigger.
He would have pulled the trigger. Yeah.
What was it? The hardest sacrifices take the strongest wills. Wasn't that his line later on? And I really loved that he's like, nope, Quill was willing to pull the trigger. Like you, kid. Yes. And then he disappears.
Oh yeah. And then they come back and they form back together, and I was like, whew, okay, so we're good.
Yeah.
Where else? What were
Scotland? We haven't talked about Scotland yet. About
Scotland.
Vision and Wanda.
Oh, yes. I think I went to the bathroom during the scene where it first showed them. I saw them in the room, and they were in love, and they were talking, but I didn't see how it went there.
That was it. It just cut to that. Okay. Yeah.
I took a great spot to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
but yeah, so we know that they wanted we know that Iron Man wanted to call Cap to find them, and then we found out that the Hulk did
Yeah.
for him, and of course, they get in a big fight. The whole time we're thinking, okay, they're gonna kill Vision, and then, oh man, when you see Cap and he's in the shadows, my theater clapped when he stepped out of the shadows,
Yeah.
and they show his face. He's got the cool hair and the beard and looks awesome. He's Nomad or whatever. And the whole team shows up and they kick ass. And they're like, "Yo, you won't get the opportunity to do that again," and they disappear. And the whole team's back together. Got Black Widow and all of them there, and the Falcon. And I don't know. I thought that scene was okay. Where else did we go?
Well, we come back from nowhere. After nowhere is where we get the scene on Thanos' ship with Gamora and Thanos. I always hated that throne. And
Oh, okay, yeah. That was another, just such a good character building part for Thanos and his daughter, and it shows that relationship and that history there, and that he's not, like, he really was, and he really looked at her as his favorite daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially compared to Nebula, because she got a rough deal.
Oh man, and I forgot where it was in the movie where they showed it, but when they showed Thanos going to her planet, and they showed exactly kind of what he does is he gets everyone lined up on one side, everyone lined up on the other. They don't really know what they're doing, like why they're doing that, and then they slaughter everyone on the sides, and for him to see remote.
Gamora.
I was gonna say Gramona. Show her as a little girl and to protect her and to he's saving her. Oh man, it just kept, these little bricks kept stacking up, and it built his character.
Yeah, it was right before they got to nowhere, because she was like having that little flashback in her head.
That's right. And she had the little. I loved how like she stuck it in his neck, and you're like, oh, that was easy.
Yeah, and that was weird because I was watching that and I was like, what the hell?
Where do they go from here?
Hang on. So who saves him or heals him, or where's one of the Order to show up? Oh, it's all an illusion. Never mind. Right. Exactly. But I love how impressed he was. Yeah. The idea of like, oh yeah. I taught her that. It's my daughter. I taught her that. Like.
Yeah, exactly. It was good, and but yeah. So where do we go? Where did we go? Went to Thor a little bit.
Yeah, we get to. Thor's stuff was. It dragged a little, I think.
Right. They weren't doing as much as the other guys.
Exactly, and so I think like if there's anywhere in the movie you could trim just a little bit off of that, because I get like the sequence was really important, and I love Peter.
Super.
Yeah. And Peter Dinklage was great. I really loved the idea of a giant dwarf. Like,
I thought that was beautiful.
That was hilarious. I love that so much.
Oh yeah.
And the whole sequence, because it played out over a lot of the film, like they kind of cut back to it, and I think that was another problem I had with it. Like that piece was stuck in a bunch of different places, and you're like, man, I didn't know this would take that long, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're turning on a dead star. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's such a cool idea that Thor, and I loved how at all Rocket was when he realized what he was dealing with.
Yeah.
That this is not just a human, it's not just a guy.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, he's outside of the ship and he's turning and he is forging a god-killing axe.
Yeah.
From the heart of a dead star. Like, and jump starting it. Like, that is just such a cool fucking, like, the legend of that is so awesome. And I just love that. I absolutely love that, because that just kind of goes into his mythology and everything else, and just how legendary Thor can be. I love all that stuff.
Yeah, and Rocket never really recovers from that awe for the rest of that whole sequence, because even when they're like, where's the handle? I can't find the handle. And Rocket's just kind of like, what the hell am I supposed to do? I don't know. And it's at that moment I think that Rocket realizes he is so far out of his depth. He's not. Look at what he's dealing with. This guy who can make something that would rival the power of an Infinity Gauntlet powered Thanos, and somebody who stood there and held open a door while the power of a sun blasted him. Like you can see he's having this moment of like, I'm just a crazy cybernetic animal who likes to shoot things and steal prosthetic limbs. Like he's not. He has that moment of like, I'm not the badass I thought I was. And it sticks with him, I think. But that's, I really loved.
Oh, it humbles him a bit.
It does, and it's a really neat moment for him, because we don't usually see a humbled Rocket, because everything works out for him and he's awesome. And now he gets this, like, and I really love that they went here and they did all this, because again, it opens up more of like this stuff that happens on a cosmic scale.
Oh yeah,
like some
absolutely.
Some of these much bigger and broader concepts, these things that are way out there that now they can do, that they couldn't have done a handful of movies ago. You know, now we can have somebody like, oh yeah, Thor's gonna hold open the gate and a star is going to melt iron that's going to forge this giant axe. You know, you can do that now, and it's not as ridiculous as if you tried to do it not even all that long ago, really. Yeah. But I think that helps broaden the scale, and it kind of puts us in Rocket's place, because we've been along for so much of this ride. We're like, yeah, we've seen it all. We know this. We got this. What the hell is going on here?
Thor just continues to impress.
Yeah.
With what he's capable of doing, because I'm like, I thought he was going to kick the bucket, and it's like, at this point, how do you kill? Because he's not just like a normal Asgardian, like he's the god of thunder, and I feel like I forget that at some points.
Yeah,
and because they use it so sparingly now.
Yeah,
and when they do, I think that's the key, is don't use that, because this whole movie you don't see it until that one scene where people were cheering in our crowd.
Yeah.
Like just whistling and cheering, and when him and and I loved how they were like, oh, and a Bifrost can be formed from this Stormbreaker, and man, that got a pop from our audience too as well when he names dropped the axe, and I like that it's Groot's arm that is
that was
the
a
handle.
Magnificent touch. That was so awesome.
Oh yeah, because it was like, okay, Groot, he finally contributed, because he was just playing video games the whole time.
Yep, and now, and it's not just, oh, now he steps up in a big bad way, and
really
good
does.
for him. But,
he now is part of a legendary. Now, what did they say? I missed the part where Thor talks about knowing people like Groot, because he knew Groot's language.
Oh, no, he didn't know people like Groot. He studied Groot on Asgard. It was an elective.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That was the you speak Groot? Yes, I studied on Asgard. It was an elective.
Yeah, that's what it was. Just like I think I went to the bathroom during that part too. That
was such a great little just kind of toss away line, but it was so funny.
Yes, and I like that he treated Rocket like the captain. Like, like I said, that he had a respect for Rocket. He respected Rocket, and then when Rocket was just in awe of him, that was awesome. And then when they arrive and they touch down, and Thor's got his hammer / axe, or wait, no, it's just the axe, right? Or
no, it's got the hammer on the other hand.
That's right, it's both. It's to me an improvement.
Yes, it is. It very much is.
And he just takes him out, and we got swerved, because in the trailer we think we see the Avengers scene, and I remember talking about this on a podcast where I was like, I think they blew their load showing it in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I would rather have just seen that in the movie, and that scene doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because there's no Hulk at the end. So I loved that. I loved that when it was when Thor comes down with Rocket and and Rocket and
Bucky.
Bucky, absolutely.
They were a great pair.
Yeah, can I get that gun?
Yeah. No, it's not for sale. No. What about the arm? And he just kind of ignores him. That's good. I'll get that arm.
Right. We missed we didn't talk about when Peter and them surprised Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
and all of them. And they start fighting, and the Guardians, they hold their own against people like Spider-Man and Iron Man and Doctor Strange, and when they finally figure out like they're all on the same team, and some of them are humans, and it was I really liked that. And I liked there was a oh no, now it just left me. I'll come back to it. But yeah, no, I don't know. I enjoyed that part in there, and when they, what did they do on that plan? Oh yeah, they came up with their plan.
Yeah.
And Doctor
I,
Strange. Oh, go ahead.
I like your plan, except that it sucks. So let's go with my plan.
Right.
Like there's
Oh yeah.
you get a little more of like, okay, Tony's had like 10 minutes to deal with this dude. So now, of course, he's got that face of just like,
He just stares at him.
Yeah, it's just like, really.
Like, oh my god,
really?
this is what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, it's like I'm surrounded. They're everywhere. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Him interacting with Drax and Peter, and just like, how are these people, you know? But anyway, I thought Doctor Strange had some really cool moments in this when they're like, is that normal what he's doing?
Does
And
he
it
always
shows his
do that?
face just going crazy, and I like that. And this is just such. It didn't click with me immediately, but it made sense by I think the time I walked out of the theater, is when Doctor Strange said, "I just saw, however many million different futures," and he's like, "How many do we make it out?" And he's like, there was only once.
One. Yeah.
One. And I like that when Doctor Strange is disappearing, he's like, "Remember, Tony."
Yeah.
Fuck, what did he say?
There was only one choice.
There was only one choice. So they are in the timeline where they win. That was the only way that they could have won, is by doing by handing over the time gem.
Right, and then you wonder, because not that long before, he's like, I am the sworn guardian of the time stone. If it comes to saving you or the boy or the time stone, I will not hesitate to let you die.
Exactly.
But when the time comes to it, Thanos doesn't say, I'm going to kill Stark if you don't give me the stone. He's just going to kill Stark. And
right,
Doctor
At
Strange,
the time, you're freaking out. You're like, why are you doing this? It's the stupidest thing you could do.
Yeah.
And it makes sense.
And Strange just jumps in like, hang on, let me make you a deal. If you spare him, I'll give you this. Thanos is like, okay, cool, small price to pay.
I like that Thanos knew Tony Stark.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Oh, I know who you are. Because news would get to him about a man in an iron suit that stopped his first invasion. Exactly. You know what I mean?
And that was where I think that came from. I've heard some other theories, but I think that's where it was like you think he doesn't know about Earth? You think he didn't know about the Avengers? Like or about at least like what happened during that battle? Like he knew. Like it all got back to him what happened with the Chitauri. That's why he didn't try that again. He was like, well, fine, I'll go find the other ones then, whatever. Like I'll come back to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's because because the one dude told him. That was the line for the post-credit scene for the first Avengers. To challenge them is to court death.
Oh yeah.
Cue big smile on Thanos' face. Like that was the thing. Like he heard all about it. And I'm sure that there were other tales of Tony Stark that got back to him. Like it doesn't surprise me.
Oh yeah, yeah, and we talked about Spider-Man's role in all of this, and he is just Peter Parker from the comic, and the whole time I'm thinking in the back of my head, he is Earth's mightiest hero, and he because he just the way he's so, I want to be part of the team, I want to be. All of these people to him are gods and superheroes and whatever, and he is kind of our perspective, or in the comic book he was the reader's perspective.
Yes.
And I loved that they kept all of that there, because he was just whatever you want me to do, sir, for Tony Stark, and like I don't want to get in the way, I want to help, and I just loved all of that.
Yeah. Well, I told you to go home. It's like, oh, I'm kind of here now, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so what?
We've gone through everything up until we didn't really touch on when they went to And let me look this up here because I don't remember exactly what the name of the thing. Vormir was the planet where they got the Soul Stone. And when they first showed, like, okay, here's this, spooky floating black cloak figure, like, challenging Thanos in that sort of, like, not physically challenging him, but just like, halt, who goes there kind of deal. And I was just like, all right, what is this? Because I knew it was going to be somebody. Like, it wasn't just a specter that was going to disappear. I knew there was a point to it. But
Yes.
I was not expecting Red Skull.
Oh, not at all. I had no idea he was going to be in the movie.
As soon as you saw that, like, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
That's a deep pull. So this is where he went. Like, it answers that question. Like, this movie answers all these questions. It's just like,
oh yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I don't know what he is though.
He's the keeper of the Soul Stone. Like, he doesn't.
Yeah, but I mean, last time we checked, he had the
Space Stone, and it
sent him, and it sucked him into space,
and that's where he wound up.
Yeah, but like, how did he turn into a floating ghost thingy?
Because I imagine there was a thing of where he went to travel here, and he himself actually found himself in the place where Gamora thought Thanos was. Because Red Skull genuinely loved nothing. He had nothing, he had nobody. So I really think that when he wound up here, that it just kind of became his job. Like, little mystical cosmic magic deal, whatever.
No, I mean, I'm sure there's something there. I guess I just didn't. I'm like, how did he go from a Red Skull to a floating guide?
What he said was, he said, I once touched an Infinity Stone and it sent me here.
Oh,
okay. I think that was the end of the exposition, pretty much.
Gotcha. But yeah, it was such a cool reveal, because when he was the ghost floating thing, I'm like, okay, why is there Dementors here, first of all?
Right.
And then my mind started, like, just like, you could see the file cabinet opening up and all the folders coming back and just like just going through it, like, who the fuck is this guy?
Exactly.
I'm just like trying to remember every Wikipedia I've ever looked up on Marvel Comics. I'm like, what oddity or entity or whatever in the universe is this for Marvel? And then when you see the skull, and by the way, he's played by Aaron from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, he is.
Which I thought was cool. But when that reveal was there, I was like, oh fuck yes.
Yeah.
All right. Because man, that moving into Phase 4. Now that we know he's still on the table, well,
not really.
He might still be on the table.
Nah, this was just the answer to that question. What happened to him?
Oh no, he's still on the table. Come on, are you kidding? You think Red Skull is top 5 Marvel villains?
In the comics, sure. I'm
in
not
the
arguing
comics.
that.
You got Doom, you got Red Skull, you have Thanos. You probably don't have anyone besides maybe Magneto. Those are the big daddies, and so. I always thought it was weird that he wasn't a part of any of the Captain America stuff moving forward, but it actually made those stories much better, I think, because they just moved on from it.
Yeah.
But I think they left a crack open to play with that character.
I'll grant you that. They left a lot of cracks open at the end.
The Soul Stone, when that scene where when he makes his sacrifice. It was one of those big ones, like we talked about before with Thanos, where you saw the hurt in his face when he knew what he had to do.
Yeah.
And it was just, that was just that was the moment really for me where I was like, this guy is sacrificing everything, and he truly is the hero of this story, and to him. And he's got to make the biggest sacrifice possible. And he references this later on where he's like, I understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
I understand loss.
He said, to Scarlet Witch, yeah, I have lost more than you can even know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We've covered pretty much everything up until they all, like I said, they almost got him. They almost got him at one point. And then they didn't. And that was when they lose the Time Stone, and they go from there to Wakanda. Because we haven't really talked much about when they get to Wakanda, and I love that Bruce kind of bowed, and they're like, what are you doing? It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
because he had just asked
Rhodey.
Rhodey like a second
Like,
before. He's like, what do I do? Do I bow? And then he's just like, well, yeah, he's a king.
Yeah.
So he's just acting on bad information. And I love Rhodey looks like he's trying so hard not to like openly laugh. Like he smiles, but you can tell he just wants to sit down and laugh.
Oh yeah.
But
And I love how Shuri would just immediately knew like, well, why didn't you do this?
yeah, because
think
we
of it.
didn't think of it.
Yeah, and I love that. I love the show. Just she is the smartest person in the Marvel universe. And,
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be cool when eventually they introduce the Fantastic Four, which rumor has it they're going to introduce Fantastic Four in Black Panther 2, which would be really cool. So it'd be cool to see, Reed Richards kind of bounce off of her and have these minds of science in the kind of same place.
Yeah.
Which would be neat. But yeah, so like I like that. And Vision, he went through the shit this movie. Like
Vision had a rough time. Vision had a very rough day.
Oh yeah, because you think back to Ultron and you were like, he was godlike in that movie, like Superman almost, where he can phase and do all this crazy stuff, and they really bring him down to earth in this one.
Yeah, big time.
Big time, yeah. And so the whole time, she's trying to heal him and shield over everything, and we get to see Wakanda, and I think it's just that if you would not have seen Black Panther going into this, I don't think it would have held as much weight going back to Wakanda, seeing these characters, that when he says Wakanda forever and all of that, it was just so awesome.
Yeah.
And they get ready for battle, and they're getting into battle, and the monsters, these bugs things that come out of the ships, are like killing themselves to get through the shield, and then they kind of surround it, and they're like, well, if we open up just a little bit, we could kill them.
Well, no, it was the reason they did it was because they were like, because some of them were coming through, and there were so many of them, they were eventually going to get through the barrier somewhere, and they couldn't cover the whole barrier. It's like, well, if they surround the perimeter, like, they're going to get division. It's like, well, then how do we make sure that doesn't happen? We open the perimeter.
Right. And it was a cool battle, awesome battle.
Yeah. And then just when things look like, this might not end all that well, bring me Thanos. Like, that was a hell of an entrance. But if you're gonna make an entrance, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, just bring me Thanos. It was just so good. That scene, I still get goosebumps thinking about it. and all the characters kind of bouncing off of each other.
Bucky, like I said, Bucky and Rocket make a great pair. Bucky just grabs it, they're just swinging him around. So funny.
Yeah, that was perfect.
We got that. We got. I do not remember the general's name off the top of my head.
M'Baku?
No, that Danai Gera plays. The head of the Dralmayahe, the guard.
I don't remember either.
Give me a second. Okoye, that's it.
Okoye,
yes. And Black Widow fighting.
Like, yes, and Wanda too.
Yeah, it's just man. And
did Wanda show up or?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember them three being there. Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool. That was an awesome scene. And then she throws her up, gets just destroyed.
And because it was and the reaction was just peak Marvel. And she sits up, and she just goes, "Well, that was gross."
Right. Well, where's she been the whole time? Or whoever said that, they're like, why was she up there the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah, but their plan kind of fails, and Vision doesn't get the thing extracted. I don't know what she did. She was doing something, and it's like she moved it away, or I think there's more to that stone, or more to that.
Well, what she was doing was she had to sever the connection.
That's right.
Neuron by neuron.
Right.
And it was just one of those. It was microsurgery on a ridiculous scale, and she just ran out of time.
Yeah.
So when they burst in, it was basically just like swiping a window clear.
Right. So he doesn't get it removed, falls, Seems like he went and saved.
He took out whichever member of the Order was in there.
Right.
Drove them both out the window. Yeah, he saved
Yes.
he saved Shuri. And
Yes. Yeah.
and because we get the whole big fight and everything, and it looks like it's going well, and everything kind of dies down, and then there they all are in the woods, and they're just like, something's coming.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about Nebula too much.
Well,
But
because she doesn't do a tremendous amount. Like, her role is important,
yes,
but she's not in there for much.
I like that. Her character has grown so much.
Agreed.
When we first seen her and she's such a villain, and now when you see her and she had all of the parts just stretched out, it was heartbreaking. And you see her brain and everything else, and
Yeah.
it was just hard to watch. But yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to say about that. And but yeah, so yeah, when they knew he was coming, and so Thanos comes, and everyone tries to get a shot at him.
Yeah.
And I loved they did the slow motion with Cap, and for a moment Thanos is like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This guy's stopping me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, he's holding his own. And it kind of reminded me of the scene in the comic where Cap's like, there's just one of us left alive. There's still a chance.
Yeah.
And that's where Wanda had to kill the Vision.
And I loved the way they did that whole scene, because she was focused on that, and then here comes Thanos, so she's got to turn both sides at once. And the fact that this is what was crazy. That shows her power, that she was able to significantly slow him down.
Yes.
Like, obviously couldn't stop him, but to slow him down and at the same time break the Mind Stone. And I loved hearing the theater just erupt when that thing shattered. Everybody cheered, everybody loved it. It was great. And then you saw Vision die, and you're just like, well, shit. Like, but it was one of those things of like, this is how it goes.
I love the dialogue in this scene where he was like, "You could never hurt me."
Yeah.
And when he was like, "I wish it wasn't you. It's not right that it is you, but it has to be you." And like, I thought that all of that was just so well done.
It was a perfect balance of kind of like machine logic and human emotion.
Yes.
In that it was that thing of like, there was the heart in "I wish it wasn't you," but there was just the preciseness in "but it has to be."
Right.
Like,
and the fact that she has the ability to destroy such a stone, I want them to do so much more with her, because I want her to be like way more witchy in the next one, if that makes sense. Because she is the Scarlet Witch. I want her to be able to do not just like pew pew from her hands and float around.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want her like it was Age of Ultron where she like tricks Tony Stark and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, I want her to do more stuff like that. But oh wait, no, actually she's not. She's gone, right? She's one of the ones that goes.
Yeah, she died.
But when Peter Quill went, I was,
Man.
I think where I saw the joke somewhere where they were like, "Well, that was Jurassic World getting in the way."
But just the theater, like because they highlight the stone shattering. It's like, yes, there's a big explosion and everything, and there's Thanos standing there, and he does that little lecture to Wanda, and he says, but right now there's no time to waste. Right now there's no time at all. And I loved, like, I stuck my head around to stare at people's faces because I wanted to see the expressions when as soon as he lights up the time gem.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, "We forgot. We totally forgot about this thing." Like, everybody had the exact same realization at the same moment, and it was priceless. God, it was so priceless to watch.
Yep. Yeah, he brings it up, and it brings Vision back, and he just takes a chunk out of the Vision's head to get it.
Yeah.
And then he just turns to stone, pretty much. He's just a piece of machinery. He goes from like just life to boom. He's just parts.
Yeah.
Falling on the ground, and it looks spooky. His eyes looked like the Vision's eyes in the comics when they did that.
It was creepy.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And man, that hurt. And yeah, and then I thought this was how I thought Thor did it. I thought and I think most of the audience did. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, this is how they're gonna do it, where Thor does get his revenge. And it was such a cool thing because he was like, I told you I was gonna kill you.
Yeah, and it was very like they set that up with Ragnarok to where, and even a little in Thor: The Dark World, where at the very beginning, where like the big giant rock monster comes up to him, and
Yeah.
it is kind of that moment of like, I accept your surrender.
Yes.
It's that kind of like Thor, he jokes, and then
Right.
he turns you into a pile of rubble, and you realize, oh, he also backs it up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I thought this scene kind of mirrors the scene with Gamora earlier, where they thought they killed him,
Yeah,
and he's like, "You should have
he should have gone.
aimed for the head."
Yeah.
Oh man! And then just that snap,
Oh man.
and then of course he's in the Soul Stone. I think at that point, and she's like, "Did you do it? Yes. Was it worth it? Or what did you sacrifice?
What did
Everything."
it cost? Everything.
Yeah, what did it cost? Everything. Yeah.
And cut
Man.
back to the first thing you see, a destroyed Infinity Gauntlet. Like
Yeah.
it's been dipped in acid. Like it took that was it. It's a one-trick pony. Like that
Yeah.
to harness all 6 of those stones to do something on that scale. That was
Here's
it.
the thing: they did leave it up open to have another one though, because they have at the star they have the what do you call it?
They showed the prototype, yeah.
Not the prototype, the what's it called? The mold. They show the mold there.
Was that now? See, I didn't think that was the mold for the Infinity Gauntlet. I felt like that was a prototype.
Oh, I guess I took that as the mold. I thought that's what he said, but
No, the
I
mold
could
was
be
for
wrong.
Stormbreaker. Because a mold for the gauntlet is like something you pour into. What they showed was like a half-finished version of it.
I wonder if that plays a part.
It might. It might.
Yeah.
It's interesting that like they showed that they made a point of that.
Right. Because I mean, moving forward into the next one, are the stones? They're not destroyed. Are these like the Dragon Balls where they just shoot off to different parts of the universe?
It makes you wonder.
It makes you wonder, absolutely. And so
And I loved like after Thanos leaves and just pulls the axe out of his chest and away he goes, and then just because I love Cap coming in and just going, "Where'd he go?" And Thor has no answer, and even Cap's looking around like like we've never seen Cap panicked.
Right.
And that's it. Because he has no idea what's going on. Because at the end of the day, he's still just a kid from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
He's a guy from Brooklyn who went to fight a standard war and wound up dealing with stuff that he still can't quite process.
His last line of the film was, "Oh God."
Oh God! As he's sitting there next to
he
Vision.
lost.
Yeah, and he's
And also real fast. I liked that Doctor Strange told Tony, "We're in the end game,"
yeah,
because that's a throwback.
yeah, it is.
That's a throwback to Civil War, where Tony Stark is telling Cap, "We need a bunch of robots around here to protect us in case something comes." And Tony's and Cap is like, "No, we'll die together if we do." Which they're both kind of right and wrong. And Tony's like, "We're in the end, the end game, or no, this is for the end game or whatever." So I thought that was a throwback. But yeah. So anyway, when Thanos disappears and they're kind of like lost, and then Bucky's like, "I don't feel too good."
No, he doesn't. That's Peter. Bucky just says Steve. It's just Steve, and then he collapses and disintegrates.
Yeah.
And that's when it starts. And the choices that they made, that they took Bucky instead of Steve, that they took Peter instead of Tony.
They took what's her name?
No, they left Okoye and they took.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant to say. Is I thought she was gonna go.
Yeah, and leave Black Panther, and instead they took T'Challa.
Yeah. Which is, man, what the fuck? What?
Yeah.
They took one of the best characters in the Marvel universe.
They took Mantis and Drax and Peter.
The people that are still alive are the ones in that room in Civil War when they were talking about the Endgame. The same characters.
Except for Rocket.
Well, except for Rocket.
He wasn't there.
All the characters in that room are still alive right now.
Bruce wasn't there.
Bruce was there. Bruce is alive.
No, I mean he wasn't in that room.
No. Maybe I'm not saying it right. Everyone in that room is still alive.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I'm not saying like the
Because who all was in there? It was Rhodey, Steve, Tony,
Black Widow.
Thank you, Natasha. That's who I was looking for.
Natasha, yeah.
So,
not Ant-Man.
Was that it?
That's it. Yeah.
Because Falcon wasn't in that room, was he?
No.
Okay. Because he's gone. I couldn't believe they took him and left Rhodey.
Right.
That's. Oh man, Groot was that was another one that just killed me.
Oh yeah, he's like, no.
And again, because Rocket, not a giant diving leap of panic or anything. He's just looking at it, just going, like something you can't fight.
Right.
Like he looked at it like he was losing somebody to cancer or something. Just like no.
Yes.
No. And gone. Like because again and this was what was great. Nobody had seen anything like this. They perfectly conveyed like, oh no, this wasn't Ultron trying to drop a country on something. This was something on a universal scale, and they were appropriately floored. Yeah.
Oh yeah, if this happened in the real world, this would be terrifying.
Yeah.
This would be like Rapture type shit.
Yeah.
And I liked that scene at the end with the helicopter, and there was just chaos, and the motherfucker.
Yeah. And gone.
Goes. But yeah, and then with Steve just saying, "Oh God," and then they cut away from him. It's like they lost.
And what I loved was after the snap, there's no music until we see Thanos again. After he snaps his fingers, because there's no music in the little, whatever Soul Stone vision he's having, he disappears. We see the fallout, and then when it cuts back to him wherever it is that he's gone to, then the music starts again.
Right.
And I loved that. I thought that was a perfect choice to say, when as all of this falls apart, no music. I think that's great, and I think that's a very Whedon-inspired choice too.
That's true. It was so somber. It was so
it was perfect.
The whole theater was it was like a quiet place.
Yeah.
Just like, man, we just watched our guy lose.
And I loved because I was sitting there and watching as they cut the Thanos, and they slowly they keep on his face for a second. And then there's just there's that kind of sigh, and then there's another beat, and then just a little nod of his head, kind of like he's done. He's done his job. He's finished. He's gonna retire now. And I remember I was thinking, watching that, I was like, and cut. And then when it actually cut, I was like, holy shit, they did it.
Yep.
I couldn't I was like, because I was thinking if they did it right now without setting up anything in the future, I was like, this would be just absolutely brilliant. And then they did it. And I was like, oh my God. I can't believe they did this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was, man, yeah. I loved that. And then it was just quiet. The credits were mostly quiet, and then it went into music and whatnot.
Once you got to the scrolling part of the credits.
Right.
Because they did all the single credits up until the title card.
Right.
Which then disintegrated and blew away. And then you got to the rolling credits. And I was like, that's beautiful. God, that's so good.
Oh yeah. And I completely forgot about so they show the after credit scene, and it's Samuel Jackson. The whole theater cheered and whatnot. Sure. And he was just driving. We've seen this scene before, it seemed like, where he's in a vehicle and someone's gonna attack him,
and something happens,
happen. Yeah. And what's her name? Is it Kobe
Smulders.
Smulders, yeah. And they're talking. It's like, okay, that's cool. They're still doing their thing and their shield or whatever. And because I was wondering if Samuel Jackson was going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
Because I thought I heard beforehand that him and Ant-Man were in it, but they just weren't credited.
Yeah.
So anyway, it shows them driving, and then when the car crashes and they get out. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where it's truly frightening. Seeing this on the ground level and seeing people just disappear. He didn't know what was going on at first, but then when he saw it happen, and he saw her disappear, and then he goes to pull out his phone or some sort of communicator.
Yeah.
And his mother, and then it falls and it ends, and you see Captain Marvel's symbol, and you're just like, oh shit, she's coming.
Yep.
She's coming to help. Which apparently she plays a big part in the next one, which is good.
Well, if this is what the end credit scene set up, then it better.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's cool though, because now there's just like Ant-Man with Civil War. We're going to get no, it wasn't Civil War. It was Age of Ultron. Then it was Ant-Man, right?
Yeah.
Where we get more of a big, spectacular movie, and then we okay, now we're going to digest it, and we're going to take a smaller bite. And we're going to see this Ant-Man film that is a prequel to it, and I believe it's just going to lead right into it.
And here's my prediction for what happens. I think that he and Wasp survive. I think that this movie ends, not the post-credit scene, but they have, I forget who they're fighting. I don't remember the villain or whatever, or even if there was one. I don't remember. There was, and I can't remember who it was. But anyway, they win, and in the post-climax to credits scene, that little wind down that most movies usually have, except for this one. I think he and Hope have a moment, and Hank has a moment, and it's the three of them and Scott's daughter. I don't know how it comes about or whatever, but I think it's just the four of them. Nobody's in suits. It's just a nice, fun family gathering. And Hank Pym and Scott's daughter disappear.
Yeah.
I think those are the two. Because that's how... Because you can't get rid of Wasp just because, that's only going to smack of stupid. Why do you get rid of her? You can't get rid of him because I think... Well, I say that. You could get rid of him. You could. But I think you keep him around. I think he's good to have in the next one. I
think a studio would probably get rid of either Paul Rudd or the Wasp.
Yeah.
Angelina blah blah Lilly.
Evangeline Lilly, yeah.
Right. I think because imagine them just sitting there and one of them disappears.
Yeah, I think.
I like your idea better, where it's you do the daughter and the father.
Yeah. Because I think that's how you keep the hero roster up. Because she's gonna get, she kicked ass in the first film. She's gonna kick a lot of ass in the second one, and I think that I think that you would keep. They
need Paul Rudd in there, yeah.
Yeah, you keep, and that's because he's the next everyman behind this. You've gotten rid of Spider-Man. You need the guy on the street.
Yeah.
So
he's funny.
Yeah. So you keep him and you keep her because you can't. I don't, especially with them making jokes about how had she been in Civil War, what would have happened. I think you can't then get rid of her for the next Avengers movie. I think she has to stay, which is fine by me. I think it's gonna be awesome. So that's why I think, because if you're gonna do half, it's either one of the two of them or two of the four of them. And I think if you get rid of Hank Pym and you get rid of Scott's daughter,
they'd freak out.
Yeah, I think that because you get rid of the people closest to them, and maybe get rid of Carlos Pena too.
No, I like him in the movie. He's so funny,
and that's exactly why you do it. That's exactly why you do it.
That's true. That's true.
Just to really kick people in the head.
Have him just explaining something while it happens.
He's in the middle of telling the story, and no, man, So when I was over there, and this girl over there, and she said, "What's happening?" And it's him in the story that he's telling, starts to disappear, and then a quick, back to him in reality, but still disappearing, like that, same pose and everything, just change the scene around him, and now he's disappearing, and everybody's like, what the hell's going on? And then here comes Hank from wherever he is, and he starts disappearing, and so Scott goes bolting, like I'm picturing this on the porch.
Yeah.
Everything's fine, and Scott's on a porch somewhere, and his daughter's inside, and he goes bursting inside to make sure his daughter's okay, and I don't want him to make it.
Yeah.
I want him to come crashing through, the front door and upstairs and into her room, because he crashes through the front door, and she's screaming. And he goes bolting upstairs and smacks open the door to her bedroom, and she's sitting there on the bed, and she stares up at... She's already, like, half gone.
Right.
And she's staring up at him, freaked out, crying, and he goes diving and just misses.
Yeah.
That's the way I want to see that.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think it totally leads into that. It has to.
Yeah. And then we get Captain Marvel next year, which I'm sure... Like, I imagine that's going to play a lot like Captain America did, where most of it is going to be of that time, and then either the end of it or and I think the end of it is going to set up Avengers 4.
Yeah. Well, I think here's the thing. I think her movie not only sets up Avengers 4, but it also puts the seeds in place for Secret Invasion.
Possibly.
Because we're dealing with Skrulls in the 90s.
True.
It's totally possible that some of these characters are Skrulls already.
That's true.
Which would be interesting. I don't think it'd be the main ones. I don't think... Because that would be really weird to be like, we followed these guys on this huge journey, and they were actually a Skrull. Well, I think that would take away a little bit.
And that was the problem with the actual comic story. Yes. Was that, like, everybody was a Skrull. Like, that was just so wrong. I
don't want the time frame from the beginning of Iron Man 1 to now for them to be Skrulls. I'd be okay with if, like, I don't know, one of the movies, one of the characters were Skrulls. But it wouldn't make any sense, though, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because Thor would not have been a Skrull. Why would he have been a Skrull doing all of the things he was doing? What would the Skrulls have to gain for that? If anybody, I could see, like less used characters. Like maybe Falcon or something.
Thunderbolt Ross can be a Skrull.
Thunderbolt Ross, exactly.
He's a Skrull. I'm down with that. Like, that I understand. That makes sense.
One of the Avengers has to be a Skrull, though. Then they find they find, let's say it's Rhodey, and then they find him, and they're like, yes, they captured me at some point during this time frame, and then they save him. Does that make sense?
I know how to do this. They find out that Rhodey's a Skrull, and so when they go to find that they've captured Rhodey, and they open up whatever prison it is that he's being held in, it's Terrence Howard.
Oh, yeah. That's perfect.
That's it. That's how Rhodey's a Skrull. They replaced him with somebody who they thought was the right person. And so when they open it up and they're like, oh my god, Rhodey, are you okay? It's, oh my god, Rhodey's in there. And they open it up and it's Terrence Howard. I want that so bad. That's it.
See, that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Oh, yeah.
God, that would explain
it would be interesting to see how they do that. But I think they do set those kind of seeds in place. Nothing too big, but the idea of it being a possibility.
Sure.
Because, and she's going to apparently, like I was reading some things, she's going to be one of the most powerful characters, like on Thor's level, which is awesome. I think.
That's why she gets, when they're like Sam's like Code Red, and he's like, okay, we have to make the call to the single biggest gun that we have.
Yeah, because why didn't he call her during
literally anything else? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. But one part that I found interesting was when Thanos was talking about, I let whatever get in my way before, it's not happening again. I wonder what he was talking about. He was talking to Gamora. He was like, I let something get in the way of my destiny, and it's not going to happen again. As if there was another point in time where Thanos was trying to do this, and he got stopped.
Yeah.
And I need to rewatch the movie to exactly remember what he said in that scene.
Line, yeah.
But I'm curious what that was.
It was probably a thing of like he fell in love once or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that could be it. I am. We know that Adam Warlock doesn't play a part in any of this. Well, he's probably going to be in Guardians 3.
No, but honest to God, I kind of hope he's in Avengers 4. Like, I hope he's the key to all of this. And I hope and pray and I really, 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 really want them to cast Kevin Bacon.
Oh, that would be cool. But I get that's funny. But how could you? He's not introduced yet. He's just in a what do you call it?
A cocoon.
Right, a cocoon. So, like, I think you have to have a story of Adam Warlock first before he does anything like that.
Well, they hadn't introduced Ego first either, but,
That's true. It seems like, I don't know. this movie is so personal to the characters that were in the first 10 years of this franchise.
You introduce him in Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, well, yeah, I guess. Well, no, he's not alive in Captain Marvel. He doesn't exist until the end of Guardians 2.
How do you know that?
Because did you not see the end credits of Guardians 2?
Refresh
where
my
they
memory.
talk. Okay, so at the end of Guardians 2, the end credits scene.
Oh god, that's right. I'm so backwards. Okay, because I haven't.
Yeah, I
seen,
thought, oh, you forgot it. Okay,
I did. I've completely forgotten it. You're right. You're right. You're right.
yeah.
You're right.
So
You're right.
so yeah, she and his name is Adam, and so it's too soon.
God, it's been a long. I need to rewatch Guardians 2 is what I need because I haven't seen it in a long time.
It's on Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that after this. I haven't. Yeah, I had completely forgotten that. I had absolutely forgotten that.
Yep, yeah.
So he's got to play a part in something. I guess Guardians 3, but
I would rather him not than be shoehorned into it.
Fair enough. That's fair. That's a good point.
I think it's great to do Captain Marvel, and I think Captain Marvel's kind of going to be the person shoehorned into it. But they've done enough, and they will have a movie of her beforehand,
right?
So it's going to make sense. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be 2 months out. It'll be fresh on our minds. We'll know the character, and when she shows up, it'll be awesome for us. But if someone else that we don't know about, that's how you do Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's very true. That's true.
Yeah, so I think it's too soon. But, setting him up for Guardians 3, who knows what's going to happen after that. I don't think Guardians 3 will be the last Guardians movie either. I think, even though Chris Pratt is a giant mega movie star, I think he loves making these films.
Yeah, I think he has a blast.
Yeah, I think he's going to be in for a long... I think he's going to be in for a lot longer than right now how Cap and Iron Man are. I see in the fourth one, I could totally see the big three die.
Yeah.
Which I hope doesn't happen. Maybe they have, like I said before, kind of how Cap could die. Tony could be alive and they have a baby. He retires. He gets what he wants. I don't want to see Thor die. Of all of the characters of those three, I don't want to see Thor go.
No, because, God, he's suffered enough, hasn't he?
He's suffered enough, and I think he is just so interesting now, and I want to see him play off these characters more, where I feel like we've gotten enough Tony Stark for a lifetime, and what I think the problem is that I don't think Disney's got enough Tony Stark, because they know that he puts butts in seats.
True, very true.
And so does Captain America. You know what I mean? People love Cap. Some people still think that, rightfully so, think that Winter Soldier is the best Marvel movie, and I could totally see that.
That's man, it's hard to argue.
It's hard to argue, yeah. That's the thing. I listed all of these, and maybe I'll post it I'll post it on the Facebook group. My ranking right now, which is always subject to change. I feel differently when I see the films. But the top 6 or 7 are totally interchangeable. Yeah. At one day, I'm feeling Guardians probably is my favorite Marvel film, but some days I'm feeling Black Panther probably is. But the last 2 days, this is by far my favorite, and it might be just because I got out of the theater and saw it. Probably is, but man, those spinning plates that they did and how they told the story, it just felt like a Marvel event in the comic store.
It did, and I have got to tip my hat to Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely who have the screenplay credit for this.
Yes.
Because oh my God, this must have been impossible to write. I can't imagine trying to fit all this, and then to the Russos for directing it and having and being able to see all this.
Yes, without making it drag, without making it. We have nitpicked it, and we can pick out things that are like, that was a little bit too long in the tooth. That was, like any film, nothing's perfect.
Right.
But on the scale of what they've done, I don't think it would have been possible to make it any better. So which I like them to try to do in a few years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they shot this one and the second one at the same time, right?
Yeah, they shot these back to back.
Yeah, I don't imagine anything on this scale for another 10 years. They'll have other Avenger movies, of course, but probably not this massive. Who knows? But I think this is cool. I think this is obviously a changing point after 4, where we're going to see a bunch of new heroes, a bunch of new movies, and I'm excited for that. I don't need an Iron Man 4. I don't need, as much as I would love a Cap 4, a Thor 4, I hope they show up in other films. If they don't get killed off, I hope that the characters that they do, they do a deal where they're like, you make cameos, and then you're in the big one,
Yeah.
And that maybe that's what some of their deals are if they do renew at all. It's like, you're done. You're going to do an Avengers film in 3 years from now. Okay, I'll schedule it. And it's going to be interesting seeing how they put in the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. I think the huge focus is going to go towards that moving forward.
I think they're going to be a big part of it, sure, especially the Fantastic Four in particular.
Yes. And if the rumor, and it's just a rumor, is that they're in Black Panther 2, I mean, they're going to be shooting that, next year? The year after that?
I don't know, actually.
The amount of money that movie made, you would think they would be pushing that right to the front.
Yeah, but, they have, they have their frame of how they're going to do things and what they're going to do.
You're right.
And it's
hard to say without knowing, because we don't usually at this point in time we know what the next phase is, but we're all in the dark right now.
Yeah, because they have they're not going to do it without Ryan Coogler directing.
Right.
And he's pretty booked for the foreseeable future.
That's true. That's true.
No, there hasn't been an announcement or anything about it yet. So
yeah, I imagine he will be one of the first few movies in Phase 4 because people love Black Panther. I can't see them holding that off, but we know that the only one that we know of right now is Spider-Man, and we only know of that because of the deal between Sony.
Well, there's actually two, because we know there's a third Guardians.
Oh, that's true. That's true. We know there's a third Guardians. I loved. I posted this picture. I was like, I like to think of a James Gunn, kayfabe James Gunn, walking out of the theater, and it's just him, his face, and it's just fuck. Where do I go from here?
Right.
He just killed everyone besides Rocket and Nebula. Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing that somebody brought up to me that I thought was interesting. The name Guardians of the Galaxy is like the name The Avengers. The team roster changes.
That's true. Oh, that's absolutely true. No, but I mean, okay, so this is, I guess, I have looked into what Guardians 3, because I follow James Gunn on Instagram, and well, should I say this? Because it kind of spoils it spoils who's going to be alive after Avengers 4.
Well, I imagine.
Should I say it? Do you care to know who's going to be in Guardians 4?
I think the only one that they're probably going to keep going is Gamora.
No.
Really?
See, that's the big one, is that she apparently plays a major part in Guardians 3, more so than Peter.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that's a big spoiler.
Well, but here's another thing though, and it's
she's in the Soul Stone.
Right, but there's another thing to think about too, which is how many of these movies are prequels to movies that haven't come out yet.
No, this is definitely going to be a sequel.
I don't mean Guardians 3 as a sequel to Guardians. I just mean I'm curious if maybe Guardians 3 takes place between Guardians 2.
It takes place after. It's the golden. What's her face? It's this is the whole Adam Warlock thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You're right.
It
actually didn't say if it takes place after Avengers 4. It just said that what's her face, the Golden Lady, it takes a prominent role in the movie, and right. Gamora takes more of a leader role than Peter does.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, I wonder if that means they set it between Guardians 2 and Infinity War. If it has no bearing on Infinity War. Really,
you're absolutely
which is
right.
Possible. I think it's
would put Adam Warlock in play, technically.
But I mean that's too far out. It's not coming out till 2020. So I mean, that's
right. But he's writing it right now, so that he knows obviously the ends of Avengers. From what I read, what's his face? The guy who plays Drax, the wrestler, Batista. He only read the pages he needed to for the script because he wanted to see the movie. He didn't know how it ended except how his character ended. That was it, yeah. So like
Nice.
he didn't want anything else to be spoiled. And there's a lot of the film that he's not in, so like he wanted to get those surprise moments and stuff, which is cool. That's interesting. That's an interesting way to go about it.
Well, and here's another thing that's interesting. Didn't James Gunn, when they talked about Groot, like, oh, the end scene where Groot is an adolescent now, wasn't
Yes.
that, didn't he say, like, oh yeah, that's because this is like years after Volume 2? Like, there's a big gap between
That's
the
true.
end of that movie and the end of that movie.
You are 100% right.
So it could conceivably take place within the gap between the last scenes of that movie.
It could.
Like,
You are absolutely right.
it's possible, and it's kind of a way to have their cake and eat it too, in a
Yeah.
sense. It's again, it's
Yeah,
I,
because that would put more risk at Gamora. Yeah, I like that. You're 100% right. So it could totally take place before this movie,
yeah,
Infinity War.
it could take place before the end of its own movie, which is weird. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I doubt they're going to go that way, but I'm saying they could. That it's an opportunity for them to
Hmm.
have all their players without disturbing the continuity.
Yes, absolutely. Oh man, you got any more thoughts on it?
Um, Man, not that I can think of.
Yeah, it blew my expectations out of the water. It did. Hats off to everyone who made this film because this is just something that I don't think has ever existed before on this level.
No, this is like this. It's basically like the penultimate episode of the last season of a show that's run for
Yeah,
10 years. Because
exactly. It was.
you know there's one coming, and there's a couple little backstory episodes in between.
This is the ninth episode of Game of Thrones every season.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
And
and
they've basically made movies on a television scale. When we get to Avengers 4, that's going to be 22 movies. That's a season. That's a season. They've made a season of feature-length TV is what they've done.
you're absolutely right.
They have made a season of feature-length TV. That's madness. That is absolute, complete, and total insanity. And it's worked. Yeah, there have been some bumps in the road, but every season has a couple episodes that don't work. But
Yeah,
they'll have done it, which is insane.
yeah.
And I can't believe, I really want somebody to come out and say that. Like, I kind of want it to be Kevin Feige, who just comes out and says, well, 22 episodes in a season, 22 films, to get to where we end the story. So, we made a season of TV, but with movies. Like, if they could,
Yeah.
I would just fall over. If for somebody to look at that and actually say that, I would just be like, I called it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man.
It's madness. It's crazy. And this is the documentary I want to see. I want to see like the planning of this and just how long ago did they actually decide? Because the whole Avengers thing at the end of Iron Man was a gag. It was a
Right,
joke. It wasn't actually going to go anywhere.
right.
And then I don't know if it was after they filmed it and somebody said, "Hey, maybe that's an idea," or if because of the crowd response that got, they went, maybe this could be something. How long, like how far back did they start planning an Avengers movie? Okay, great. And then, the end credit scene is Thanos. So how long did it take to craft the narrative to get to this point? Like,
Yeah,
how long did this meta story take to write? And just how long ago did they start putting this plan in motion and saying, okay, these are going to do this and that's great, but we need to have this here because it's important to this. Like, how long ago did they decide that they wanted to get to Infinity Gauntlet?
there was an idea.
God, smack you.
I want to see a documentary about that.
I do. I absolutely do too.
Yeah,
Like,
I hope they've been. I mean, obviously they've been filming behind the scenes stuff. I don't own too many of these things in physical form. Man, am I going to collect these things? Fucking hell.
Man,
I want them now because I want to see the behind the scenes.
well, digitally, if you buy them digitally, they have the menu for them.
That's true.
I mean, and
But
they
yeah,
have all the same features.
I have man, I don't know. That it's in my head. That's my dumb, stupid head. They've now crossed into the territory of Star Wars, where like I need to own it now.
Yeah, that's.
I have it on the shelf.
I'll be the guy who waits and saves, and then like once Avengers 4 comes out on Blu-ray as part of the 22 film $700 box set, that's going to be my Christmas one year.
You're absolutely right. I'm definitely going to be waiting until that to see if they do a giant major 22 collection. Man, imagine that sitting on a shelf. What would it be like the thing? Would it be the glove?
No,
Like,
it couldn't be. It wouldn't work that way. It would have to be. I don't know. God, I don't know.
It would just be like a box. I don't know.
You'd almost have to just do it that way. Like it would have to just be a crate of movies.
Well, the first one was the Cosmic Cube, the first phase. I thought that was kind of cute.
There was a suitcase too, wasn't there?
Yeah, or maybe it was a suitcase. Maybe that was phase 2. I don't know.
I think it was the box that they kept the Cosmic Cube in.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. That was for that, but I think they'll do an entire collection because it is going to be something ridiculous that almost nobody is actually going to buy because it is going to be stupid expensive.
But here's what I would be afraid of is I hope that every movie still has all the behind the scenes stuff as the individual Blu-rays do.
Yes, that is a concern.
That would be the key. That would be the make or break for me.
Agreed. I agree. Like I'm not just going to buy 22 movies. Like I want all of that stuff with it.
I can just get the Disney app.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And these are going to be on the Disney app.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But okay, man, I think we have gushed over this long enough. I think
so.
We'll be talking about it for some time, and of course we will stay away from spoilers on the main show, though.
Oh yeah, no. This is no question.
Yeah, but we might make a longer episodes, or maybe their own. Once Ant-Man and Captain Marvel come out, maybe once after Captain Marvel comes out to talk about going into Avengers 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this is just this has been a ride. It would be real fun to kind of, maybe I'll put that thought in my pocket. We'll come back to that. I just had an idea that would be really cool to do, but yeah, no, we'll be back next week. We'll be talking about geeky, nerdy stuff, same time, same place. Yeah, no, I mean, what's the next big movie we're gonna go see? We're gonna see Deadpool, Star Wars. So we'll probably do a spoiler cast, I imagine, after Star Wars.
Maybe. What are the spoilers? Han Solo, Lando Calrissian, and Chewbacca live. Han and Chewie pilot the Millennium Falcon.
That's true. We might just make it a part of an episode.
I think it'll just be part of an episode. I really hate that scene in the trailer where Chewie's hanging off the side of the train and they're like, "Oh my God, there's a rock coming." We know he lives. Shut up. That does not prompt any tension whatsoever.
Right. Right.
Exactly. It's still going to be good. It is all about the intrigue of what we don't know about these characters, but you can't really put them in. You can't put them in. You can put them in peril to shape who they are.
Right.
That's fine, but you can't put them in peril expecting the audience to think something horrible is going to happen to them because we know it's not.
Exactly. Oh yeah. But we'll be talking all about them. When they come out in a few weeks. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm probably going to be seeing it a few more times. I want to go see it in IMAX 3D, and I'll eventually probably use my movie pass sometime this week to go see it again. But I'm excited, man. I'm pumped. I've never been this high from a movie this far after a movie. I'm sure it will settle down, and I'll get back to my brain will get normal again. But man, it's been fun. Yeah. So it's been fun. It's been a ride. We will see you guys next week, Captain.